So, hello. I feel like it's now the beginning of the new year, and things are going alright so far. Um, there is, I suppose, this thing about how the city is still, it's still waking up, which is to be expected, I suppose. But I find it to be, I don't know, I guess also I realise that, um, because it's a new time, a lot of people I think are getting over what happened the last 2 years here. Well, I think probably all over the world. And so a lot of people are rethinking, I think, fundamental things like friendships, things like what it means to, like, what they want to do with their lives, all this kind of stuff. And of course, I am too. But I don't know. I think a lot about this idea of acceptance. I think that I learned more about just learning to accept myself, and in the totality of that sense, not just this sort of usual shtick of accept your I don't know, sexuality, or accept your um whatever it is. No, I mean, like, accepting everything, that you're from a certain class, that you're from a certain um time, all of these things, that you're a certain person, like inside your limitations and the good things and bad things about you. And I also thought a lot about just people and how people are, and I think it's more to do with where we are in the world than it is in terms of, I suppose, capitalism, but also such a spicy word, but also, yeah, just in terms of the culture itself around the world. It seems likely that this is people are just simply becoming more atomized, more isolated, more like this. But I don't know. But I don't know if that's, for most people. I don't know if that's terribly bad thing. I think people are adjusting to it in their heads. They're sort of becoming more. Well, yes, I think this cult of loneliness. This idea that in the that loneliness is bad and solitude is bad, and all this generally sort of is considered to be the case, and that humans are social animals and all the rest of it. Of course, that's true to a certain degree, but I think there's a lot of, probably at least, maybe less than half of humanity who would probably be quite content living relatively in solitude, alone, not in a cave or something, or completely removed from society. I mean, in the past, you have to think, especially in the European history, that, well, in other societies, but the worst thing that could happen to you in the medieval times was excommunication, actually. Not, I guess technically being burnt at the stake or something like this is technically worse, but if you're to continue living, and the punishment is to be a punishment which is not fatal in nature, then it would seem excommunication is probably one of the worst ones, from what I understand. And it makes sense. So social ostracization to that, where the whole society has rejected you, is it would be extremely destructive to the individual, because there is that aspect of us. Anyway, but I'm also thinking about well, creativity, music, for example, as you can see on this channel. This sort of thing. I think I'm following a very Gilles Deleuze kind of interpretation of creativity as a form of resistance against, or an attempt to integrate yet resist the society of control, and trying to sort of sort of find loopholes within the vectors of access, as he calls them. And a DIY sort of thing, and this approach to a practical approach to creativity in a society where everything is based on metrics, on your scores or your credit score or your education score, and how do you find your way through that when you either don't have the money to go into university at all, or the first place, or at all, or again, and also you'll find that you can't work in, you're not molded enough, and you're not socialized enough to be able to fall into like the job market, in the sense that okay, you're like a nice little round hole that fits into another round hole, which is the job, and you're the round hole fitting into the job. So it's like, how do you literally, in a way, how do you literally create yourself out of it? Yeah, I mean, because you have to, it seems, you have to obviously think of many different ways to make some money, bit here, bit here, bit here, bit here, bit here, bit here, and then collect it all together, and then you have something. And of course, living in a postmodern, post-industrial welfare state as well, right? Which is most of the OECD. Actually, I think it's all of the OECD, but have some sort of welfare apparatus, and I think that's only going to grow as time goes on, I would imagine. But yes, anyway, the other thing I wanted to say, yes, was more that I wanted to say actually, was about music, and I think for me, music is turning to be something which I find to be quite useful as an expression of and working through, much like writing itself, I suppose, working through what it means to be alive at this time, and how to express emotions in a way that can be conveyed through the technology and the mediums to which we seem to interact now more primarily with each other. And many people use this as a prime tool of a sort of socialization, really, of socializing interpersonal dynamics. And I'm finding it really challenging, interesting, thinking about it, but also thinking about its application in terms of lyrical in music. And then playing these little, I don't know, I keep coming back to this the minor scale, so a very somber scale on the piano, which I record a lot of the songs on a keyboard, and I do it in one take, and then like this, I think I'll make another video as to my process, because I want to share it, because it'd be great if other people started to make music as well, and it was inspiring to them to create their own music. Because I think procrastination, a lot of people procrastinate, or they say, I'm not good enough in terms of creative stuff, or well, many things, but creative stuff especially. And I think to myself, but you are. It's just your procrastination, I think, stems from, like mine did, I think, from a sort of neurotic self-defense mechanism. It's usually that, actually, if you dig into what it is that why your mind is saying, oh, I'll just have a cup of coffee before I whatever compose a thing. Well, maybe that's not the best, because you kind of need some coffee to wake up. But I'll go and do something else. I'll go into the garden, and then I'll think, and I'll come back and do my thing. But then you always find that I have to check Facebook, or I got to check something, or I got to do this, or I got to reply to an email, or whatever. I'm going to babysit or something, or yeah. So I think it's excuse me. So I think it's that sort of thing where once you see it for what it is, i.e., neurotic self-defense type thing, only to yourself. And I think I also realised this, of course, because we live in this plethora of, we've moved from the age of the literal, writing and recording and nuance and books and to a sort of more dominant age of the imaginary, both in the sense of imaginary, like it's a shadowland of illusions, but also as a reflection of an image. It's always the constant replication of images. I mean, Warhol said this, which is that life has now become a series of images which repeat themselves, and they're just slightly different, but they are essentially images which repeat themselves ad infinitum. And I think that's sort of where we are going. It's not where we are going, sorry, we've pretty much arrived, but in the totality of it, that's it seems to be the visual as to where But you're going, almost like going backwards in a way, like going back to hieroglyphs or something, maybe eventually, or something horrifyingly strange like that, or sort of a symbolistic, I forgot the word for it, but for hieroglyphs, what they're called in linguistics. But anyway, glyphics, no. Anyway, so a hieroglyphic thing, that would be kind of quite an interesting development. But it wouldn't make sense, because history has this sort of weirdly cyclical element to it, of course, as we know. But yeah, I mean, for me at the moment, the art, of course. Sometimes I've taken a picture of my art, of a painting. They're kind of quite naive, like child almost paintings. But I recycle a lot of my, I don't know, coffee cups or other things that I find just in daily life, or little, I don't know if I got one around here. No, like little, well, maybe like this, like little, what do you say, tops, caps for drink bottles or things. I use them for eyes, like as an eye, or something like that. I don't know. It depends what I want to use it for. But yeah. I was just thinking a lot about creativity as a way of a sort of escape from. I guess really not really escape, but it's sort of all a vain attempt. It's ultimately, of course, futile. I mean, but yeah, everything kind of is, because we're all in this together, and we all end up. But before all of that, it's that sort of thing, where you realise I really, really want to create as I'm crawling across the globe. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking a lot about, and trying to just be without fear too much, worry about what other people might think, might not think, this and that. Because why bother? I mean, I think I feel insignificant, and I think that other people are generally, like in the total sense of the universe and everything else, insignificant. And I think that's the trick. Once you accept, like going back to the first comment of this video, once you accept your situation in life, or who you are in life, and if it is, and you judge it between, obviously, if you're in a domestic violence situation or something awful like this, I mean, hopefully you can get yourself out of that. I wouldn't say to accept that. But generally speaking, most people are not in such a dire strait. So if you are, I mean, I think, again, it's the thing between becoming and being. I think one should just be and stop trying to become. I mean, what are you trying to become? As soon as you become something, you want to become something else. So it's a hedonic treadmill, that pursuit of becoming. And the only thing about becoming all collectively is dead anyway. So it's like we're always becoming something in that sense, in the grand sense of the word. So it's like between now and then, what does one do? And I guess you can do anything, because life, as the existentialists say, is meaningless, except for the meaning that you put into it as yourself or for yourself. So it's all the point, of course, is it's all auto-generated, and so that's the point. So there's no really other, like society and everything else can tell you whatever else, and all the introjects of that happen, the voices in your head are called introjects, that go into your brain and tell you, oh, you've got to do this, and my mother said I shouldn't wear suede shoes, and my father said this, and whatever it is. Society said you can't, dress like that, or think like that, or speak like that, or dress or move like that, or whatever. And I think that's just all nonsense. So once you start going, well, who am I? You have to work through all of these, introjects, these voices, and figure out who you are, by just discarding them all and finding the essence, the core, or the scent of you, like the essence of you, the thing which is not actually physical in that, even that psychic sense, but it's more like a mist, like a purveyance. It's something which is more disembodied, almost, I guess, funnily enough. But anyway, as always, the message went all over the shop, and don't know what I'll call this. Anyway, I'm going to have some tea. I've just woken up, so sorry for this rambling mess. And going to write, going to work on translating an album from Gainsbourg, and yeah, see how we go. Still over here. Okay, thanks for watching. Ciao.